So, very good morning to all of you. So, you're able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think the presentation is also visible to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, I am Dr. P. Ashok, Assistant Professor, Department of EC, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering. So, I heartily welcome all of you for your second semester of your BE. And unfortunately, we have been having only online classes. I think your first year will be fully online only, I hope. So the subject what I am going to handle is electron devices. So this is the only electronics paper you have in this semester, and this is the foundation for your entire for 8 semesters of UG. So if you are very strong in this subject, electronic devices, I think you can be confident of learning any subject easily. So that is the introduction I want to give to you. And regarding the rules of the class, so every class will be recorded and the recorded video will be shared to you at the end of the class. That I will do it from my side regularly, so that in case if you have any doubts or queries, you can see the videos and get it clarified. And at any point in the class, if you are not able to follow something, you are allowed to unmute yourself at that moment and put forth your doubts. That is also allowed. And in case of any technical difficulties like voice is not audible or the presentation is not visible, please notify me immediately so that it can be rectified at the earliest. Okay, so that is what I want to make things clear. So without wasting much time, we will actually go into the subject. So I hope you had a good first semester of learning in SVC. Hope that continues in second semester also. I will ensure that I'll make the concepts as simple as possible for you and as interesting as possible for you. Okay, so that I already said this subject is a base, right? So if you're conceptually thorough in the subject, your BE journey will become very smooth. You will not feel pressurizing or you will not feel it difficult to learn other subjects. Okay, so this subject, as every subject has, this subject is also having 5 units. And first unit is a little bit lengthy because first unit forms the basis of all the remaining units. So first unit, if you learn it thoroughly, the remaining units can be done easily. So first unit will take a lot more time. So we will spend a lot more time in learning first unit so that the concepts are very much clear to you. And first unit is all about semiconductor diode. Okay, the first unit is about semiconductor diode, and the topics in first unit may look simple. The syllabus is just 2 lines: PN junction diode, current equation, diffusion and triple current densities, forward and reverse bias characteristics, and switching characteristics. It may look very simple, but each one is conceptually need to be explained in a stronger way. Okay, so we will spend more time in unit one, and once that unit one complete feeling you get about the subject, unit remaining units relatively we can go in a relatively faster way. The textbook what I'm going to refer for all the 5 units is this one, and this is the textbook I have uploaded in the Google Classroom. So those who have not seen the message, please go to your Google Classroom page. I have uploaded this textbook. This textbook has all the 5 units pakka. You need not study from any other textbook. This one textbook will serve the entire subject. Okay, so I am going to teach only from this textbook. This is a very standard textbook by Indian author. In fact, Sali Vahanan is currently working in SSN College of Engineering. He's a renowned professor, and his electronic devices book has been the basis for this subject. Okay, so first unit is about diode. We are going to see about diodes. Okay, and introduction. Can anybody say what is electronics? Without, I don't want the answer what is there in the presentation. Can anybody say what is electronics according to you? What you have understood by the term electronics? If you hear the term electronics, what comes to your mind? Please unmute and speak.
Controlling the flow of current,
Okay, very good. Then,
purpose of information processing and system,
okay, very good. Electronics has what word? Inside electronics, what word, what subword you can find?
devices,
Hmm. Inside, just look at the word electronics. What immediate word you can find looking at the word electronics? What word is inside electronics?
Electrical.
Electron.
Electron. Yes. So electronics is based on electron. And you have molecules. Molecules have atoms, and atoms have a fixed structure. You have a nucleus. Inside the nucleus, you have proton and neutron. Outside the nucleus, you have electron revolving around the nucleus, right? So we are going to play with electrons. In electronics, we are going to play with electrons. We are going to move the electrons faster. We are going to slow down the velocity of electrons. We are going to change the paths taken by electrons. All these are possible, and by doing each one, we are going to achieve some purpose. Okay, so electronics is a branch of science and technology which deals with conduction of electricity. When electron is in one position, assume electron is in a static position. You have a glass jar, and the glass jar is full of electrons. What does it contribute to? What does it contribute to? You have a glass jar full of electrons, and the electrons are not moving. What does that mean? What comes to your mind? What does that mean?
No current flows through it, sir.
Okay, no current flows. Okay, what other thing? As you said, when electrons don't move, there is no current. Very good. And electrons are in one place. What does it give rise to? What? Yes, yes, I got some answer.
Protons and neutrons are not scattered, sir.
Don't go to proton and neutron. Protons and neutrons are not in our scope at all. We are going to focus only on electron. Okay, electron is in one place. In one place, I have 100 electrons, and they are not moving. So what do they contribute to? What type of charge electron possess?
They are stable and not scattered, sir.
Correct. They are stable and not scattered. What does that result in? A group of
Negative
electrons.
charge, sir.
Very good. Electron is having negative charge. So when you have hundreds of electron in one place, that place becomes negatively charged. So negative charge, how will you call it technically? Technically, negative charge is equal to what? Negative charge is equal to what? Can I say it as a negative voltage? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So remember, when electrons are static, when electrons are not moving, that contributes to that results in negative voltage. You know, when electrons are moving inside a wire, what does that contribute to? Electron moving inside a wire, that contributes to?
Negative charges, sir.
No, electron is moving now. The previous case is electron is static, that
Current,
contributes to
sir.
negative charge. When electron is going to move along a wire, it contributes to? Yes, I got the answer. Somebody told the answer. It is
Current, sir.
current. Yes, when electron is going to move, it is going to cause current. So two aspects of electron, the same electron. If I'm going to make the electron stay at a particular place, that is going to give me voltage. The same electron, if I'm going to move them across a wire, that is going to give me current. Okay. How can you make electrons stay at a particular place? How can you confine electrons to a particular place? By providing appropriate charges. So when you have negative charge completely surrounding the electron cannot move because negative charge is going to repel your electrons, right? So by clearly playing with electrons, I am going to achieve something. So that is going to be the role of electronics. So electronics is a very general term, but it has a very broad significance. So it is going to, I'm going to change something, some behavior inside a material by electrons. So by playing with electrons, I'm going to do something. That property, that branch which is going to deal with the playing with electrons, that is going to be called as electronics. And we are also going to study about those devices where this principle is utilized. Okay, so one such device is going to be your semiconductor diode. So in a semiconductor diode, everything depends on electron only. So whether you are going to make the electrons move faster, or whether you are going to make the electrons move slower. So everything depends on the how you're going to control your electrons. So electronic device, you see the definition, is if electrons flow through a medium in a semiconductor. So electron device is a device where the electronic flow is going to happen inside the medium. So in the beginning of 20th century only, electronics begin to explode, and lot of developments took place in electronics. So now electronics is an You cannot neglect electronics at all. Your mobile phone has electronics inside. Your laptop has electronics inside. Your whatever device you take, you cannot say that electronics is not there inside the device. So any device, any application, any appliance you take, electronics cannot be neglected from that. Okay. So large, see there, electronics, how much applications you have, rectification, amplification. I will just quickly say what is each. Rectification means you see that I am converting whatever power you are getting in the house. Okay, so that is going to be alternating AC. You should have studied in first semester PWE alternating current. Alternating means the variation will be happening at every point of time. The signal is going to have a varying amplitude. So, but all the batteries can store the energy only in DC. Correct. So I want to convert from AC to DC. The conversion process called as rectification. Okay. First one, rectification. Next one, amplification. If I'm transmitting signal for a longer distance, I need to amplify my signal because when the signal is weak, it cannot travel for a longer generation. Power generation. Solar panels you take, it is converting sunlight into electricity. So again, when you have current, electrons are coming into picture. Industrial control, photoelectricity, communication, and so on. So electronics, you cannot say only these are the applications of electronics. Electronics has lot of applications which cannot be listed here. Okay, so see here, electronics also nowadays electronics is coming in consumer electronics. Consumer electronics means whatever you are going to use in your house, fan, AC, fridge, air conditioner, the mobile phone, smartphone, laptop, tablet, everything is going to be consumer electronics. In industries, we have. In communication, we have. In broadcasting, TV, radio, broadcasting equipments, you have this electronics. Biomedical, very, very important field, biomedical. When you feel that your person is going to having a heart problem, means what the doctors do, if the person is frequently having heart problem, means they will implant a small pacemaker into the heart of the patient. What will the pacemaker do? It will observe the behavior of the heart. Whenever heart is not pumping blood normally, this pacemaker will induce the heart to pump the blood normally. That pacemaker is made of electronics. So nowadays in biomedical field, we have lot of applications coming up in electronics, which are quite impressive also. Nowadays, robotic operations are being done. So without even the doctor being involved, a robot can do operations successfully. That is all because of electronics. Okay, and other applications you see calculators, we have scientific calculators, we have computers, supercomputers, we have microprocessors. So inside the phone, you will have a processor, right? That processor will be the important device for your smartphones. Without the processor, your smartphone is nothing. It will not have any intelligence at all. Aerospace, defense, and other fields. So electronics has its application in all the fields. Very few are listed here. So understand that you should be really proud to be calling yourself as electronics and communication engineers after you complete 4 years of BE, because you are into a domain where you can do and achieve a lot of things. Still, electronics is not explored completely. So electronics has lot of things to be explored, and engineers like you, people who are very young and energetic, once they venture into electronics, they can easily invent and discover new fields of electronics. Okay, any doubts so far? The general electronics, any doubts you have, any clarifications or any queries you have, you can put it forth. Then we'll continue with we'll actually enter the subject after this. Okay, even if you have any queries at any point, you can even type in the chat box. My chat box is kept ready only. So I'll be viewing the chat box also. So anywhere, any queries, please stop me immediately. I think so far things are good. We'll slowly move into types of devices. So according to electronics, we have three types of devices: conductors, insulators, and semiconductors. Have you heard about these three terms anywhere? Conductors, insulators, and semiconductors?
Yes,
Yes?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I think things should be very easy for me. We'll start with the insulator. What is an insulator? What is an
They do not
insulator?
conduct electricity.
Restricts the current, sir.
Okay. Restrict the current means will it allow the current to flow inside it?
No, sir.
No. So see the definition there. Insulator is a very poor conductor of electricity, which means that it will not allow electrons to move inside it, which means that the current cannot be produced. And conductor, you see, it is just opposite of insulator. So even without any external energy supplied, a conductor will be allowing the electrons to flow freely, causing current. And semiconductor, it is in between both. Okay, semiconductor is in between. It is neither a conductor nor an insulator. So, and there should be some mechanism of classifying all the three devices, right? So you cannot say this is a conductor. If you ask the reason, you cannot say this allows electrons to free flowly. If you ask what is an insulator, you cannot say it will not allow the current to flow based on what you are saying all these things. So based on what parameter or based on what logic you are saying, it will allow or it will not allow current. That is based on the energy band structure. Okay, so this is the general definition of the three types of devices, but this definition holds good only if you understand the energy band structure of these three devices. The energy band structure. So every atom will have two bands. One is valence band, it is denoted by VB, and another one is conduction band denoted by CT. Always electron will move from lower energy level to upper energy level. The valence band is a lower energy level, conduction band is an upper energy level. So electron will always move in this direction only. The electron will always move from valence band to conduction band only. Okay, this is the basic of the energy band diagram. Now we will see what is the case of the three devices. First one, insulator. So in insulator, you see there is energy band gap between the conduction band and valence band. Okay, so what is energy band gap? The energy difference between conduction band and valence band is called as energy band gap, or it is called as Forbidden energy gap. It is denoted by Eg. You can see Eg. So Eg is 6 electron volts, and there is some separation. So if you want an electron to move from valence band to conduction band, I need to supply energy. The electron cannot move on itself, right? So there is a saying, there is a Newton's third law is there, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So unless you have an action, you can't have a reaction, right? So unless you provide some energy to electron, you cannot expect the electron to move from valence band to conduction band. The electron is here. You are not supplying anything, means electron will still be in valence band only. When you supply energy in the form of heat or light or sound, electron will acquire that energy and it will go from valence band to conduction band. What they are saying in insulator is this energy band gap is very, very large. So you cannot supply so much of energy to move the electron from valence band to conduction band. This is very, very impossible. So I have to supply energy more than 6 electron volts to make the electron go from valence band to conduction band. So it's that much amount of energy. If I give only electronic movement is possible. So that much amount of energy is not possible to give, number one. Second, if you give that much amount of energy, the component may become damaged. Okay, understood the logic of insulators. The same thing, can you say what is the difference between insulator band diagram and semiconductor band diagram? What is the difference you see in the diagram between the two? First one is insulator, second one is semiconductor. What is the difference you see? What is the difference in diagram you see between first one and second one? First one is insulator, second one is semiconductor. What is the difference in diagram you see?
Energy band gap is higher for insulators than
Okay. Semiconductor's energy band gap is reduced. So what does that imply to you? If the energy band gap is reduced, means what does it mean?
electrons can move from valence band to conduction band.
When will electrons move from valence band to conduction band in semiconductors?
When we apply some energy,
How much energy? How much energy you have to supply?
1 electron volt.
It should be slightly more than 1 electron, greater than or equal to 1 electron volt. So supplying 6 electron volts is difficult, but supplying 1 electron volt is very much easy for me. But only when I supply that, the electronic movement will happen. Otherwise, electrons will still be staying only in valence band. Okay, the movement is not possible when the energy supplied is no less than 1 electron volt. This is your semiconductor. So at room temperature, these semiconductors will not conduct. So when you slightly increase the temperature or when you slightly provide energy in the form of heat, these electrons will go to valence conduction band, causing current flow. And last one is the conductors. Last one is conductors. And what happens in a conductor? What one strange thing you observe in a conductor? In the energy band gap diagram, what do you observe in a conductor?
Conduction band and valence band are superposed, sir. They are placed
Very good.
one over the other.
They are superimposed, or you can say they are overlapping. To be more specific English word, if you can use the term overlapping. What does the overlapping mean? What does this overlapping conduction band and valence band mean? I want everybody to interact just to make the session. See, at the end of electron devices class, you should not feel bored. You should get some idea about or some concept about what is being taught. Okay. What does it mean, superimposition of EB and CB? Can you say what is the forbidden energy gap here? In
Zero,
conductors,
sir.
what is the forbidden
Zero, sir.
energy gap? It is zero. So what does that mean? Zero means what does it mean?
No energy gap.
No energy is required for electron to move from valence band to conduction band, right? So that is the reason why I will say all the metals are very good conductors, because electrons are readily available in the conduction band. Whatever electron available in valence band will immediately go to conduction band as they like. They need not require any additional energy for them to travel to conduction band. So these free electrons are always available at the conduction band for metals. That's why metals we say very good conductors, because electrons are readily available in the conduction band. Whatever electrons available in valence band, by default they will go to conduction band, because the forbidden energy gap is zero. Energy is zero means I need not supply anything. Without even supplying, the electrons are directly transferred into conduction band. So three categories of devices we have seen, right? So first one is insulator. In insulator, the band gap is very high. And this band gap energy should be more than 6 electron volts for producing current, which is impossible. And I told two reasons. One, produce the giving that energy is not possible. Second one, if you give that energy, whether the component will withstand the energy or not is a big question mark. So that is the reason insulators don't produce conducting current. In semiconductors, the band gap energy is still there, but it is very much less. It is 1 electron volt, and supplying 1 electron volt is very much feasible for me. So I can supply 1 electron volt and make the electron go from valence band to conduction band, thereby producing current. Current production is possible here. In metals, current production is always default. Your electrons are always available in conduction band because the forbidden energy gap is zero. So current production will always happen in a metal. So out of the three types of devices, insulators don't produce current. Semiconductors, yes, but not immediately. If you do something, they will produce current, but metals, they will produce current always. So that is the that's what I say in electronics, everything will have a reason. So if you want to classify different materials, we classify based on energy band gap diagram. And this diagram is going to make the classification meaningful. As insulators, first diagram is insulator, second one is semiconductors, and third one is metals. So why they are named semiconductors means they are not perfect insulators and they are not perfect metals. So perfect insulators means the band gap is not very high. So they are not perfect insulators. At the same time, they don't have an overlapping band gap. So the band gap energy is between 0 and 6 electron volts. So it is called as semiconductors. So see here the text explanation is given. So insulator, poor conductivity. So ideally we'll say zero current, but practically you can make the electrons to move and you can get a very minimum amount of current. That minimum amount of current is because the band gap is very large. A simple thing I will say, yeah, you are having a river and the river has a bridge over above it, and the bridge is 1 kilometers long. It is a very big river. Just you can imagine it's like a Godavari river. I think anybody has traveled across Godavari. Godavari, the river, the width of the river is 1 kilometer. So the bridge is also 1 kilometer. So for crossing the river in a train or you go in a bike or a car, it takes hardly 5 minutes for crossing the bridge. So it is a very big river. So when the length of the bridge is very large, and you are having electrons at one end, the electrons have to go to other end. If you don't give sufficient amount of energy, those electrons cannot cross the bridge. That is the case of insulators. The bridge is very long and electrons are having poor energy. That is insulators. So even if you give additional energy, the electrons, only if you give additional energy, electrons will go to the conduction band. And this is not possible with all the electrons. See, I cannot pump all the electrons to cross the 1 kilometer bridge. It is not possible, right? So that much energy I cannot give continuously. But if you give additional energy, you can expect electrons to move to conduction band and produce current. But in general, what is happening? The additional energy cannot be given at every time. So the conduction is going to be zero. So you see, no electrical conduction is possible practically. The number of free electrons is very, very small. It is only 10 power 7 electrons per 1 meter cube. The number of free electrons in valence band is very, very small. So for this, even for this small number of electrons, I cannot produce sufficient energy to make the electrons move from valence band to conduction band. Can anybody say the example of insulator? What all the examples of insulators you know? Devices that don't conduct. Example of insulators.
Wood and plastic, sir.
Huh?
Wood and plastic.
Wood, very good. Plastic, very good. Then any other examples? Rubber. Then you have this what is called as mica, paper. All these are going to be insulators. And do you think all these materials, since they are called as insulators, they don't have any use? They don't have any use. No, they also find applications in electronics itself. So those components which you call as insulator, they cannot produce current, but they have this property of insulating the different layers. Insulating means they can prevent current leakage from one layer to another layer. So எங்கெல்லாம் current leakage நிறைய இருக்கோ அந்த இடத்துல if you place all these insulators, you can make the current leakage zero. The electronicsல ஒரு இடத்துல வந்து that element may be called as useless. See, plastic is an useless element because it does not produce current. But same plastic, if I'm going to use as an insulator in a very in a application, that there the plastic becomes useful element as an insulator. So for example, I say you nowadays in COVID time, you see that there are a lot of people are suffering from oxygen shortage, right? So oxygen cylinders are very much required. And you see around the patient, you see so many equipment. You see pulse monitoring machine, you see oxygen cylinders, you see an ECG machine. They have so many equipments around the patient. On all these equipments, if you don't properly insulate them, they will all become short circuit and become useless. So if you don't provide proper insulation between different components, their working will not be justified. So remember, whatever components you call as insulators in one point, you call them as useless because they don't produce current. They are highly useful in some other field. So there is no object in the world which is useless. So every object has its own value, right? So same way, insulators from the point of view of electronics, they don't have any value because they don't produce current. But in the application where isolation is required or insulation is required, you definitely have to depend only on these insulators. And therefore, I cannot put a conductor because conductor will produce more current, the equipment will be completely damaged. So on that, I need to have only an insulator to save me. Okay, this is insulator. So thanks for all the examples what you told: wood, mica, rubber, plastic. All these are going to be perfect. That's why they say when you are working with an electronic equipment, stand on a wood and work. That is the common instruction they say it because wood is an insulator. Assume that your tube light in your house has gone. It has become black. So you need to replace a tube light. So what your parents will say when you start replacing, First, switch off your main supply, switch off your tube light switch. Then stand on a wooden plank and then repair the tube light. Because even if electricity passes through you, it will not affect you because the wood is an insulator. It will not allow the flow of electricity. Same time, if you stand on earth and do the same thing, you will get shocked because earth is a very good conductor. So earth will always accept huge number of current or voltage. So the current passing through your body will be very happily going inside earth. So you will be experiencing shock. But the same thing if you stand on wood, no current will pass through you because wood is an insulator. I think you would have got a better understanding of what is an insulator. Yes. Any doubt so far? Any queries? See, even general questions you have out of subject or relating to any general thing in electronics also, you are welcome to ask because this class is not like a one-way communication. It is going to be more of an interactive class. So I will try to show the animated videos also so that you can understand things in a very better and efficient way. So anywhere you have doubts, please unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay. Having known about insulators, now we go about the next thing. Conductors are metals. So as you know, metals are very good conductors because of availability of free electrons. And from the diagram we have seen, metal is going to have an overlapping conduction and valence band. And valence band is only partially filled because how much ever valence band you are going to fill, it is automatically going to go into the conduction band because they are overlapping. It is just like you there are two roads. You have to change from one road to another road, but the changeover is very smooth. You are, I think you are able to understand. You are traveling in a road. You are traveling in a two-way road. So you can go and you can come in the same road. After some distance you travel, the road is the side of road where you travel. They are saying the road is blocked. Please use the other lane. So you will slowly make adjustment and go into the next lane without any disturbance. That is going to be the metal. So even though the conduction band and valence band are overlapping, the electronic flow becomes very easy. Okay. So when you have more number of free electrons in conduction band, these electrons can move freely, producing what is called as current. Okay. So the band occupied by valence electrons may not be completely filled as there are no forbidden energy levels. So since the forbidden energy level is zero, you cannot predict the number of electrons in valence band and conduction band because the electron keeps on moving from VP to CP because of zero energy. So you can see that depending on the metal, depending on the number of electrons you have in the valence band of the metal, you can have the electronic movement, which will give rise to current flow inside the metal. So as such, you take a copper wire. In the copper is a metal, and you know metal is a very good conductor. As such, if you take a copper wire will default have more number of free electrons. That's why when you immediately put the copper wire into a plug point and switch on, you could see that the current is flowing instantly. Assume my simple example, I will say you have a laptop and your laptop is running out of battery. So you need to plug in your charger. So one end of charger you connect to laptop, one end of charger you connect to the main. As soon as you turn on the supply, you can see in your laptop the charging notification will be turned on. Your laptop battery starts to charge. How is that happening instantly? Because the laptop charging cable has a wire. That wire is made up of a metal. Metal is a very good conductor, so electrons are readily available. Once you turn on the supply, these electrons start moving very quickly, reaching your laptop charger, and the battery will be able to charge quickly. Anyway, if you make the wire out of an insulator, how much ever time you wait for the laptop battery to charge, it will not charge because the electrons don't have sufficient energy to cross the forbidden energy gap and come to the conduction band and then start producing current. Remember, electrons in the conduction band only can produce current. Electrons in valence band cannot produce current. Only electrons in conduction band are free to move and they can produce current. So these things you should be very clear. Okay. Anyways, at the end of the class, last 5 minutes is open for questions and discussion. So any doubts or any clarification, you can ask me in that time also, in case if you are not able to ask in the middle. And when you apply energy, so electrons will acquire the energy and move to the conduction band. The electrons become mobile. So the energy we call it as an electric field. We apply electric field. We apply electric field that is going to be the external energy. So these electrons are going to acquire the energy and going into conduction. And only when they go to conduction band, they become mobile. Mobile means they can move easily. Okay, that is the reason why the metals are excellent conductors of electricity. So when electrons are simply standing, when you accelerate them, when you say run fast, these electrons will be acquiring their energy and they will run even more faster. So by default, electrons will be there in conduction band. But to make the electrons move in conduction band, you need to supply some minimum amount of energy. That is going to be called as a electric field. So don't think that in metals always current will be there. If metals always current will be there means whenever you touch a metal, you should get shock, right? So you touch a copper tumbler, you should get shock. When you touch a aluminum tumbler, you should get shock. But that is not happening because conduction band electrons are there, but they are not moving. How to make the electrons in conduction band move? You have to supply some energy. That's why I said in the laptop charging cable, electrons are there, but laptop is not getting charged because electrons are not moving. When you supply energy, when you turn on the power supply, these electrons start moving and your laptop battery gets charged. I hope the understanding is clear. So I call here that external energy as electric field. Electric field, the unit is volts per meter. How many voltage I am applying per meter of the conductor. Oh, the unit of electric field is volts per meter. Okay, electric field and magnetic field, you know, electric field is produced when there are charges. Magnetic field is produced when there is current. I hope the basics of electric field and magnetic field are known to you. I assume that the basics of E and H are known. So whenever you have charges, you will have electric field because electric field is the line of force connecting your charges. Whenever you have current flow, you will have magnetic field that is going to be your H. Okay. And you see here, whenever you apply such energy to the electron, they travel with a velocity called as drift velocity. Drift velocity. It is given by the term Vd. So remember, electrons will travel with a velocity called drift velocity. Drifting na moving faster. The meaning of drift is moving faster. So conduction band la, you have a lot of free electrons, right? So these electrons are immobile. So when you apply electric field, these electrons move faster and with the velocity, that velocity is called as drift velocity. Drifting means moving from one point to another in a faster way. Okay. So the drift velocity is in direction opposite to that of the electric field. You know that see, actually electrons are negatively charged. We actually consider the current direction to be opposite to that of electrons. So whatever direction your current is flowing, the opposite direction electrons will be flowing. In PW, you should have studied when you have a battery, what we assume? We assume the current to be coming away from the battery. That is the actual direction of flow of current. But how will electrons flow? Electrons will be always attracted towards the positive end of battery. So electrons will always be moving towards the battery. So remember, the direction of flow of current, what is actually happening is opposite to the direction of the flow of electrons. So when you apply electric field or when you apply electric field means when you're connecting a battery, the electrons will move in the opposite direction or they will move towards the battery with a velocity. That velocity is given by drift velocity, and drift velocity, the expression is given by Vd equal to mu into E. What is mu? Mu is called as mobility. What is the meaning of the word mobility? Can anybody say the meaning of the word mobility? What is mobility?
Moving from one place to another, sir.
Yes, very good. And why electrons are moving from one place to another? Why electrons are moving from one place to another? What is the reason?
It depends on the energy levels, sir.
No, here in the specific metals you say. When electrons in a metal move?
Due to the applied
Because of the
field.
electric field.
Because of the energy we are applying in the form of electric field, right? So electrons are going to move because of the applied electric field. So if you apply less energy means electrons will move. How will the electrons move? See, you are consuming 1 liter of water and you can run for 1 kilometer. If you consume half liter water, how much kilometers you can run?
Half
Uh,
kilometer.
half kilometer. So what we can relate here? The energy and the speed are related. So energy is proportional to, or I can say the velocity is proportional to the energy I give. So if I have more energy, I can run fast. If I have less energy, I'm going to run slow. This is applicable for electrons also. You see, Vd is proportional to E. Correct? Vd is the velocity. It is proportional to the electric field. And the constant of proportionality is given by the term called as mobility. This mobility will say that how much fast my electron is able to move inside the conductor. So the unit of mobility is meter square by volt second. This is a constant of proportionality. It is given because I have the expression Vd is proportional to E. Vd is the drift velocity. E is going to be my electric field. Okay. So when you are applying electric field, electrons are going to have a velocity called as drift velocity, which is going to make them move in the opposite direction to that of electric field, which is going to contribute my current. And this mu value for a metal is going to be a constant. Since mu is constant, the applied energy is constant, the drift velocity will also be constant. And remember, at any point, the velocity cannot exceed what? What is the maximum value of velocity any particle can travel? What is the maximum velocity any particle can travel? This is a very general knowledge question only, nothing related to electronics. So if you are driving a car, what is the maximum speed you can travel? Assume the road has no obstacles, no speed breakers, no toll gate, nothing. The road is absolutely free. How much fast you can travel? How much fast you can travel? Yes, I got one answer. The speed of light. Very good, Sundar Rajan. Any particle can travel with the maximum velocity, which is speed of light. Right? What is the value of speed of light? You denote by small c, right? What is small c? What is the value of small c?
3 into 10 power 8 meters.
3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. What happens if any particle travels more than 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second? What happens when you travel more than the velocity of light? That leads to what is called as an interesting concept. What is that?
Change
If you
time.
Time work slower.
Yes, you time travel. You perform time travel. You go into future. You go into future. The Earth will be at present. Earth will be at present. You travel in future tense, which is called as theory of relativity as per Einstein's principle. That's why Einstein fixed the concept saying any particle, maybe electron or proton or neutron, the maximum velocity at which it can travel is the velocity of light. If you go beyond velocity of light, you actually do time traveling, for which Einstein says, I don't have the practical proof. See, that's why he call it as theory of relativity, because there is no particle which can travel more than velocity of light, so that you can demonstrate the time traveling feature. You might have seen many films coming in time traveling, but that is all practically impossible because of one condition. 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second is the maximum limit for velocity. Okay, remember that very, very clearly. Even if you travel in a car, in a road, or if you travel in a spaceship, you travel from Earth to space, you cannot go beyond 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Okay. And you see that whenever you have a conductor, if it is wire means you call it as current. Whenever you have a conductor which is going to have an area, you call it as current density. Current density is given by J. Current density is amperes per square meter, amperes per area. So I can say J is equal to I by A. What is I? I is the current, A is going to be the area. And current density, you see, it is equal to number of electrons into the charge into the velocity. So N into Q into Vd. So you know the expression for Vd, substitute that N into Q into mu into sigma. So N into Q into mu is given by conductivity sigma. So all these relationships you have to understand. So these are all the formulas relating current density, conductivity, mobility, drift velocity. And remember, all these are constants for a metal because all the values are constant. The sigma is called as conductivity of a metal. Conductivity means it will say how much a metal is conducting efficiently. Naturally, you know, conductor metals are very good conductors. So my conductivity value is very, very large, the range of 10 power 28 electrons per meter cube. What was the value we see in this in insulators? I'll go back to the previous slide. See here, insulators, it is only 10 power 7. But see how much you have here, 10 power 28. It is 10 power 21 times larger. So more electrons, more current. Less electrons, only when you give more energy, you will get more current. That's why in insulators, electrons are less, energy is also more. The forbidden energy gap is also more. But conductors, electrons are very high in number, energy gap is zero. So energy is spent பண்ணாம you can just like the electrons will travel from valence band to conduction band. So energy, where does the energy is acquired by the electrons? It is acquired by from the external electric field what I am going to supply to all these electrons. So as a result, I can say that the energy law of conservation of energy is there, right? So energy which I am giving should be equal to the energy which is dissipated. So I give energy in the form of electric field. So J into E is energy what I am going to give. And sigma into E square is energy what I am dissipating. Sigma is the conductivity. Because of conductivity, electrons are going to move. So I give input as electric field. I get the result as electronic movement. So electrons are going to move. So law of conservation of energy is obeyed. So the J is equal to sigma E expression multiply by E on both sides. So J into E will be equal to sigma E into E, which is going to be equal to E square. So JE is the input energy, which is in the form of electric field, and sigma E square is the power dissipated because of the electronic movement. When electrons are going to move, you are going to have current. When current is going to pass through any object, you will have power dissipation in the form of heat. You touch a wire and see, you feel the wire is becoming hot because how much ever the wire is efficient, the wire will also will dissipate some amount of energy in the form of heat. So that is given by this equation JE equal to sigma E square. So I am going to stop here with today. So we have seen we have started with unit 1 and we have seen the classification of materials based on energy band gap, and we have seen the two examples of insulators and metals. So what are the examples of conductors you can say? Example of conductors, just
Human
one
body, sir.
example is huh?
Gold, silver, copper, and bronze, sir.
How can you call them in a single name?
Metals.
Metals. Simple. If somebody asks you the example of conductors, I can give them one answer saying metals. Whatever metal you take, it is a very good conductor. And one thing, how much valence electrons that metal is having at the conduction band, at the valence band. Okay, that is very, very important because the more the number of valence electrons, the conductivity is going to be very good. The metal is having only one valence electron. Conductivity, I cannot say very poor, but the conductivity will be relatively lesser than a metal having a high number of electrons in the valence band. Okay, so for conductors, there is no meaning calling valence band and conduction band separately because both are overlapping. Only for insulators and semiconductors, we logically separate the energy band into conduction band and valence band. So any doubts or queries you can ask. We have 2 more minutes of time remaining.